Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Switch on the videos, please. Switch on fast. Bhishma, Sana, and Ashish. Okay, please take page number 36 of your textbook. Okay, and just read the last paragraph of ego defense mechanisms. People who use defense mechanisms are often unaware of doing so. Underline that. People are most often unaware of doing so. Each defense mechanism is a way for the ego to deal with the uncomfortable feelings produced by anxiety. How does anxiety come? Because ego has to deal with both id as well as
Super ego.
superego. So that is anxiety arousing, isn't it? If your dad says go for the party and mom says she won't talk to you if you go for the party, that'll arise anxiety in you, isn't it? Because they are conflicting ideas. Both of them are giving you conflicting ideas. So if one person is telling you to take up engineering, the other person is telling you to take up medicine. Again, very conflicting ideas, isn't it? So that arouses anxiety. The ego is always doing this mediating job. So of course, it will be facing anxiety. To escape from this anxiety, what do? They engage in ego defense mechanisms. Understood? Right. Then, Freud's ideas about the role of defense mechanisms have been questioned. For example, his claim that projection reduces anxiety and stress has not found support in several studies. Even yesterday, I told you most of the theoretical concepts they don't have much support in the sense they are not supported by scientific evidence, many of them. So that is one of the major disadvantage of psychodynamic theories. Okay, scientific evidences are comparatively less for this type of theoretical concepts in psychodynamic approach. Okay, so one disadvantage was overemphasis on the sexual aspect, whether it be sexual desires, unconscious sexual motives, unconscious sexual wishes, and all. That the an overemphasis was given on that. Plus, it lacked most of the scientific evidences to support that this is true or this is present in the population or present in our in a sample that we take. Okay. Fine. So we have completed that. We have completed ego defense mechanisms. Now we move on to stages of personality development. Any other doubt in the previous topic? Anyone? I hope not. Okay. Stages of personality development right now. Stages of personality development. And there are 5 stages in this. 5 stages They are also called psychosexual stages of development. Psychosexual stages of development. The five stages. The name of the five stages are: first one is oral, then comes anal, then comes uh, phallic, phallic, then latency, then genital. Oral, anal, phallic, latency, genital. Okay, written down? Fine. Who will read? Raina, start first paragraph. Freud claims that
Freud claims that the core accepts the personality
aspects,
are
aspects.
aspects personality are established early, remain stable throughout life, and can be changed only with a great difficulty.
Hmm.
He proposed uh, a five-stage theory of personality, also called psychosexual.
Underline. Five stage theory of personality, also called psychosexual stages of personality.
Development problems encountered at any stage may arrest development and have long-term effect on a person's life. A brief description on these stages are given here.
Okay. So here, if this is asked for an essay question, there is a high chance that this may be asked for an essay question or long answer type. So mark that as important. Five stages. And if it is asked for the essay question, what will you write first? You will write about psychodynamic approach. It contains all the theoretical concepts by Sigmund Freud, and he used psychoanalysis as a method to treat his patients. Then you have to write stages of personality development is one such concept. It has five stages. Then it is also known as psychosexual stages of development. Okay, all these you'll write as an introduction paragraph. Then only you will move on to the stages. Got that? Okay. And what is written here, I told you, early childhood experiences is of importance to psychodynamic approach. The traumas you might have had, the good experiences that you might have had, the bad experiences that you might have had in your childhood is influencing your personality as it is forming. Your personality is in a forming stage now. It is usually said that by adulthood, you form your personality, and then it is really difficult to change. That is why we encourage parents in order to um, train the children in doing good habits and good things right from childhood itself, because they are shaping their own personality as they grow up. Okay, so what is written in the first sentence? Freud claims that the core aspects of personality are established early, which means it in childhood, remain stable throughout life, and can be changed only with great difficulty. I told you this also when we started personality. Personality disorders are the toughest, or one among the toughest to treat or to change. Why? Because personality is a thing which has been forming all throughout the person's life. And the early childhood experiences that the person has is still in the person. Okay, that has been influencing the person's personality or the formation of the person's personality. And that personality is something that he or she is now at present. Because of these experiences, because of the life experiences, this person has become like this now. Understood? So it's very difficult to change. If it is just a small behavior that the person has learned a few months or a few years back, then it's easy to change. But if it is a part of personality, then it's very difficult to change. That's all. Okay. And we'll move on to the stages one by one. The first one is oral stage. Write down oral stage. Okay. Now, in all the five stages, you have to note one thing. Um, there will be some area of pleasure. Yesterday, I told you from the textbook itself, there are two types of instinct. What type of instincts are there? Life instinct and
That instinct.
death instinct. And Freud focused more on life instinct or death instinct. Which one?
Life.
Life instinct. And life instincts contain what type of things? Like if you hear the word life instinct, then what does it deal with?
Pleasure, food,
Ah,
thirst.
hmm. Pleasure in the form of food, that might be in terms of hunger, in terms of thirst, in terms of sexual desires, in terms of sexual pleasures. Yes. And obviously, being Freud's theory, there is an overemphasis on sexual pleasure. Yes. And what does people do? People try to gain pleasure and avoid
Pain.
pain. Okay. And here, in all the five stages, what is happening is there is a site of pleasure. And Freud says that this pleasure is, of course, sexual pleasure. There is a site of pleasure, and if that site is satisfied, then you are smooth to the development. If there is over pleasure or if there is under pleasure, then you have a problem. That is a major concept. Okay. You have an area that is of focus in all the stages, and if you get proper satisfaction in terms of that area, then you will have appropriate development of personality. If there is, uh, what do you say, excess of satisfaction, then that will be a problem. If there is very low or lack of satisfaction, that is also a problem. Understood? So there should be an optimum level of satisfaction for this particular area in order to smoothly, what do you call, smoothly transfer to or to smoothly progress to the other stage. So if you're in stage one, if you're on the what do you say, optimum level of satisfaction is there, then you move on to the next one, next stage. Otherwise, you will be still at that particular stage. You will have problems there. Understood? Oh, fine. So we'll start with oral stage. We'll read. Amal, wait, just a minute, just a minute. When you hear the word oral, what is the first thing that is coming to mind? Oral,
Speak.
speak. Okay. I told you for each stages there is a particular area for satisfaction. So in oral stage, which would be that area?
Mouth.
Mouth. Okay, you'll understand more. Amal, please read.
Oral stage. A newborn's instincts are focused on their mouth. This
Underline.
is
Newborn's instincts are focused on the mouth. So the site of pleasure is mouth here. And before we read, let me ask you, what kind of pleasure will the child get from the mouth area? In our life instinct, what all pleasures did we learn?
For having food.
For having food. So the major thing, what do babies do generally? They either cry and they feed, isn't it? Yes. Okay. Continue.
This is a infant's primary pleasure seeking center.
Mm.
It is through the mouth that the baby obtains food that reduces the hunger.
Mm.
In infant, achieves oral gratification through feeding,
Mm.
thumb sucking, biting, and babbling.
Mm.
It is that it is during the early months that people basically a basic feeling about the world are established.
Mm.
Thus, for Freud, an adult who considers the world bitter place probably had difficulty during the oral stage of development.
Okay. So the primary site of pleasure seeking for the baby or for the newborn is the mouth. And what pleasure does it get? Mostly when the mother feeds the baby, it gets pleasure through that because its hunger and thirst is optimized, isn't it? Yes. So according to Sigmund Freud, this is the first stage of psychosexual development or personality development. And if the child is given excess of or if overly fed, hmm, every now and then the mother is going and feeding the child, that is a problem. Or if it is underfed, which means the mother is not providing adequate milk or whatever the child is taking, the baby is taking. If it is not given at right times or in proper amounts to the child, that is also a problem. Okay, so appropriate levels of feeding method should be followed in order for the child to or the baby to develop properly. Understood. And what are the consequences that might happen? For each stage, you have something called fixation. Write down. If the proper satisfaction is not done, then that leads to something known as fixation. So, as I told before, in oral stage, if it is too much of feeding or if it is very less feeding, then that will lead to fixation at the oral stage. Understood. This fixation, how this becomes a problem is it is said that children who are underfed or overly fed, they tend to develop problems when they go into the other stages of life, like adulthood or adolescence and all. The problems include alcohol abuse, alcohol abuse, drinking. So again, which is the site? Mouth. Then cigarette smoking. That is also where is the site? Mouth. Then nail biting. Where is the site? Mouth. Then there is something called pica. Pica, pica, some say pica. Have you heard about that? It's again a disorder in which the individuals take in unedible or non-edible substances like paper, chalk, rubber, and all. They eat it. Understood? Then these all are occur as a result of fixation at the oral stage. That is how Freud has explained it. Okay, so again, I told you in the last class when we meet someone with a disorder, we when we take the case, we search for all the different causes. Okay, so let it be an addiction. You are working as a psychologist in a de-addiction center. Hmm? And you have taken the first case that you got was an addiction, an alcohol addict, person who is addicted to alcohol. So, while writing the case, while finding out the causes, you might consider this theory. This is because this person was fixated at the oral stage of development. You take the when you take the case history, you take the examination right from childhood itself. Okay, how was the development? How was the milestones done? Did the child walk at the correct stage? Did the child speak at the correct age? I mean, the normal age. Then, how was the schooling? How was the child towards the teachers, towards the peer group? Then you'll see all the different backgrounds. You have learned about socio-demographic data. You have learned about the physiological data, the other, all the psychological data, isn't it? Yeah, so you collect all this information from the person. Then only you create a report. You study with your colleagues of what is happening for this particular client or patient, and then only you'll choose the appropriate treatment for the person or therapy for the person. Okay, so all the theories and all these concepts are interrelated. Interrelated in the sense you have to know all these aspects in order to give the correct therapy or treatment. Got it? Okay. So coming back to your oral stage, what happens is the main focus or the pleasure center is the mouth, since it is the oral stage. And how does the child get pleasure? It gets a pleasure by being fed by the mother, and the feeding should be done appropriately at appropriate times for an appropriate amount. Otherwise, what happens if it is more, that is if the baby is overly fed or if the baby is underfed, then that creates a fixation at the oral stage. Okay, and this develops problems in the child or in the individual when the person grows up. And what might be the problems? Alcohol drinking can be a problem. Then this nail biting can be a problem. Then what else? Cigarette smoking can be a problem. Then all these putting everything into the mouth. Even after growing up, eating all the chalk, paper, then plastic or maybe rubber. All these things are signs that you might be fixated at the oral stage of development. Okay. Anybody who has a habit of nail biting? Huh? Amal. Ah, yes, yes. You always put everything into the mouth. Sometimes a pen, sometimes a pencil, isn't it, Amal? Huh? Yes, I have observed. Okay. And that's what happens in oral stage. Did you understand? Okay. And usually there is an age group that they say for oral stage of development from birth to, let's say, 18 months. Approximately 18 months. From birth to 18 months. So the thing is, from birth to 18 months or 1 year or so, the children, the baby feeding, it has to be done in a proper way, in proper amounts. Otherwise, what happens? It will lead to, it will lead to
Fixation.
fixation at oral stage. Okay. And one more thing to notice, like I told you, overly fed. Overly fed might be also in the sense that the child is being fed for around 3 years, 3.5 years and all. Usually, what does the mother do? The mother breastfeeds the baby till maybe maximum 1 year or so, isn't it? But there are children who are overly fed. That might also cause what in them? Fixation in them. Understood? Okay. Shall we move on to the next one? Anal stage. Um, Meghna.
Anal stage. It is found that around ages 2 and 3, the children learns to respond to some of the demands of the society.
Hmm.
One of the principal demands made by parents is that the child learns to control the bodily functions of urination and defecation.
Underline that. Control the bodily functions of urination and defecation.
Most children at this age experience pleasure in moving their balls. In anal area, the body becomes the focus of certain pleasurable feelings. This
Hmm.
stage establishes the basis for conflict between the id and the ego,
Hmm.
and between the desire for babyish pleasure and demand for adult controlled behavior.
Demands for adult control behavior. Yeah. So where there it was the feeding behaviors, but here it is the toilet training behaviors. Right. Just note down and keep toilet training behavior. Toilet training there we have to, what the parents should be most careful about is the feeding part, the way in which the way and frequency of feeding the baby. But here it is toilet training. Okay. So until a certain age, what does the do? The primary caretaker, whether it be the father or mother, or for orphan children, others might be there. So we call them primary caretaker. They take care of the baby, and even if the baby urinates or defecates, they clean up the baby, give the food. Then again, this frequency continues. Again, the primary caretaker takes care of the baby in all these senses, isn't it? Up to an age. After that, what do? They train the baby in order to in order to make them independent. That is the starting of trying to make them independent and teaching them how to do their own personal things. Okay, that happens in the next stage. That is around 2-3 years of age. It happens around 2-3 years of age, and the parents or the primary caretakers, what they do is they train the baby or the child or the kid in order to take care of them. The most important thing is to control the bodily functions of urination as well as defecation. And what the parents should do is, not for the baby not to get fixated at this stage. What the parents should do is they have to train the baby appropriately. They have to fix a place, or usually we commonly tell potty training, isn't it? We have special seats for them, colorful ones, in order to train them. Yeah. Either the child has to use that, otherwise they'll have to go to the restroom or washroom in order to control all these functions, in order to carry on all these functions. So properly the parents have to fix this place and then train the baby in order to use these facilities. And when they do it appropriately, these parents have to encourage them. Okay, there was a power failure. Sorry. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Anal stage. Yeah. Okay. So when when the baby is fixated or the person is fixated at the oral stage, what happens? It leads to certain bad behaviors in the adulthood or in the coming stages. It might include alcohol abuse, cigarette smoking, then nail biting, so and so. Just like that, in anal stage, anal stage, if the person is fixated, if the fixation occurs at anal stage, there can be two ways in which the fixation can occur at anal stage. How can the fixation occur at anal stage? I told you if it is done in an appropriate way, that is, the parents are supporting the child when the child does it correct, or the parents are correctly training the child to control the bodily functions like the urination, then defecation, and all, then that is a normal way of development. Then, how can the abnormal ways occur or fixation occurs? How might be? Oral stage, it was underfed or overly fed. So here, what might be the reason? Seems like you know something, but you don't know how to say it. Anyone? Tell me. Open discussion. Come on, guys. Mehak, how do you think?
Not appreciating them when they do the right thing.
Not appreciating them when they do the right thing, and instead of appreciating, what can they do?
encouraging them.
If it is encouragement, then proper development will be there. What happens if the child is not going to the toilet at the proper time, or not going to the right place at the proper, I mean, during the defecation or urination time? How are the parents likely to react?
They would scold or punish.
Yeah, they would excessively scold them, punish them. Then that can be very much disheartening for the child. Okay, at this stage, what the parents are supposed to do is train them properly. And for correct behaviors, you encourage. For wrong behaviors, you have to teach them what to do. Small scoldings, okay, fine. And you have to, along with scolding, you have to, not you, the parents have to teach or train them what is the right thing to do. What most of the parents do when the child does something wrong is they keep on scolding, but they do not tell them which is the right way to do, or they do not show them what is the right way to do. Instead of that, they simply scream or shout at the child. The child might not even understand for what this child is getting the scolding. Understood? The child is still remaining there, hearing all these screaming and shouting and everything from the parents, but the child might not know why this child is being scolded or punished. Not it. So the right thing to do is train the child properly. That is one thing. Then, if the child is making mistake, then make the child understand that this is the right thing to do. Small scoldings and small punishments is fine, because then only they'll learn, isn't it? Then what else is to be done, or if the parents are leaving them freely, like go wherever you want and do the things and come back, like that, they are just not showing much attention to the child. Will the child develop properly? Will the child develop good habits? Again, no. So toilet training, it should be done in a proper manner at that proper age itself. If the parents are overly strict on it, that is a problem. If the parents are very much liberal or very ignorant of the children, that is also a problem. Okay. Now, consequences. In the oral fixation, what were the consequences? Alcohol disorder, the alcohol addiction, alcohol abuse, then cigarette smoking, then nail biting, pica, all those things. Now, here, what are the consequences? If the parents are very strict, too much strict, and they are very arrogant with the child, they scolds and screams at the child for improper toilet uses. And then if that happens, then what are the consequences? Are that I mean, the consequences are that the child might become, or the child when they grow into an adult or an adolescent, the person might have very obsessed personality, like very much cautious, very much perfectionist. Um, you know what OCD is? Obsessive compulsive disorder. Every time cleaning, every time keeping. Yeah, the Fahad Fasil character I told you the other day. Not 24 Kadam. Yeah. In that, what he does is washes the hands 1,000 times, then does this. Everything is overly done. Everything is done in an over manner, which normal people would not adjust to, will not be able to adjust to. So that might be one consequence. If parents are very strict, they might, the person turns out to be very much obsessed, very much overly perfectionist and all. Okay. And if toilet training is done in a very liberal manner, that is, the child is not taken care of properly, the child is not taught proper rules and proper training is not given to the child, then what happens? The child becomes a very disorganized, messy, untidy person when this person grows up. Complete opposite of what the other perfectionist or the obsessed character is. Understood? So here also there is a problem of fixation. Fixated, if the child is fixated at the anal stage, then all these things might occur. Then next stage, we have few more minutes left. Next stage is phallic stage. Okay, here the focus is on the genitals. Genitals means the reproductive organs, basically. Okay. And before that, which was the site of pleasure? The anal area. Okay. And before that, it was the mouth. Okay. Here it is the genitals, but we have a stage coming up called genital stage. But there you might confuse it. So that's why I'm telling it early. Phallic stage, the focus is on the genitals. And we have this is the longest one. The things that you have to learn more about the stages, pretty much. Again, we have two complex coming up. Then along with that, I told you yesterday about the stories, Greek mythology, that is coming in this stage. So for this hour, I'll just tell the story and finish up. Next hour, we'll start with the stage formally. Okay. Now we have to get introduced to two characters, Oedipus and Electra. Okay. Have you heard about this? Anyone? No. Oedipus spelling is Oedipus. It's there in the text. Oedipus complex. Oedipus is one character from one story, and Electra is another character from another story. Oedipus is the boy, Electra is the girl. This is not the stories that I make up. This is the story in Greek mythology. Okay. Now, Oedipus, he was a ruler. He was separated from his parents at a very young age. Okay, and so he didn't know who his parents were, who his mom and dad was, and his parents they have not met his son, so they don't know who the son is. So if they meet up in a street, they don't know their relationship. Understood? Suppose if I am Oedipus and I'm going for a meeting, and even though my biological parents are there, I don't know that they are my parents. That was the condition, and the parents do not know that this is their son. Understood? Okay, so he was separated at a very early age, and what happened is, unknowingly, not unknowingly, he was very attracted to this lady, his mother. Unknowingly means he didn't know that this was his mother, so he wanted to marry this lady, and he killed his father in order to marry this lady. And finally, he married this lady. And after knowing that this man was her own son, this lady suicide. This is a thing in the Greek mythology. Understood? Okay. So the son was attracted towards the mother, and to marry the mother, the son killed the father. Okay, or got the father killed. And later on, when this mother understood that she has married her own son, the lady suicided. This is Oedipus story. Okay, Electra's story is something similar. Electra's father was murdered. Okay, father was already murdered, and she induced her brother. Hmm? Electra induced or forced or prompted her brother in order to kill her mother as well as the mother's boyfriend. Did you understand? Or should I repeat? Electra's father was already killed. Okay. And Electra induced or forced Electra's brother in order to kill Electra's mom plus mom's boyfriend. Understood? So Oedipus killed the father, Electra killed the mother. These two are two different stories also. Okay. Did you get the concept? Okay, fine. So this is from Greek mythology, and based on this, we have two concepts: Oedipus complex and Electra complex coming up in phallic stage. Okay, oral stage is over, anal stage is over. Now next is phallic stage, which is focused on the genitals. If you get any break time, you just read up that stage and keep phallic stage. Okay, and that one we'll discuss in the evening session, and most probably, we'll finish psychodynamic today, and from next class onwards, we'll start the seminar topics. But before the seminar topics, we have one important thing coming up. What is it? Happy faces. What is it?
Test paper.
Test paper. Start preparing or finish preparing fast, because tomorrow most of the Vishu people are not going to learn, isn't it? You'll be busy with Sadhya, Payasam, Vishukani, blah 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 blah. Or else with the television films. What all are there tomorrow? Any new films? No.
So many unheard films.
Unheard films. Okay. Any doubt till now? Oral stage, anal stage? Hmm? Now, if you see somebody biting the nails, Will you think of fixation at oral stage? Most probably yes, if you have understood that. Go and ask them, were you underfed or overly fed? Overeating, that is also one thing. One, what do you say? One